Hello, friends. Welcome to Emotional Café. Like every week, here's Yomara Mayo Ingram with our session this week, Family Values. You know, the month of August, we've been talking about values, and last session was about personal values. Well, today we're going to talk about family values and how these are the foundation for our personal values as well. Now, let's define family values. You know how family is our first concept of community. It is mainly the first time that we get to interact with others. That's where we establish our primary interpersonal relationships, and it is where we get to experience our first social interactions, which will later be taken to society. So, in summary, family is the foundation to all our interactions with others in the community, as well as the place where we acquire those basic elements that we need to be part of society. Now, I have some important considerations that I brought to share with you. You know how we learn from our parents. Pretty much when we're growing up, we're learning everything we know, we learn from our father and mother figure. And it is our parents, but it can be the case of a grandma or grandparents raising you as well. So these are the people that you're actually going to be learning from. And it's totally okay. Now, each family member, though, as we are learning from these main figures that we have within the family, each family member goes adopting these values, but simultaneously you go creating your own concepts of things. That's why sometimes you see that you can see people following the same values within a family, and then this person from this family is doing totally opposite to what he or she was taught. That's the reason why, because even though we're learning from our main figures, we're also creating and forming, developing our own concept of things that are important to us. Also, those values that we learned with our primary family will have a profound impact in us. But not only the positive ones, there are also aspects that are very negative that we might pick up when we're growing up from these figures or from the family itself, and this also have a negative impact on us. These are negative aspects that can affect us as well, so we need to be aware of this. That's why I wanted to share this with you. I'm going to see a little bit more a little further ahead. Those family values will inevitably reflect in our social interaction. And each family, my dear friends, each family have their own set of values. And this is amazing. I remember when I was growing up and I was just a little kid, how I used to want to be part of another family instead of mine. And part of the things that I remember is that I would see things or activities that they would do and things that were important to them that I wanted my family to have. My family had others that were very good, but I had those. And what I mean here is that each family has their own set of values. So that's something that you might have realized as you were growing up as well as I was. Now, there are three basic values that we learned within our families that are considered the most important and necessary to nurture as we become members of a community and a society. And these three basic values are freedom, security or safety, and unity, being united. Now, freedom goes hand in hand with respect, but freedom refers to the fact that others interact with us because they want to, and we get to interact with others because we want to as well. So, from that point, we don't impose ourselves to others, and we set healthy boundaries for others not to impose themselves in our lives. So what it means is our free of choice to interact, to socialize, to hang out with the people that we want. At first, we do this within the family, but later on, these are the same things that we get to do within a community or the society we live in. Now, security or safety has to do with the fact that we foster feeling safe and being part of something, being part of a group, and for everybody to feel safe about who they are and interacting with others, not to feel any kind of threat or anything. Now, unity, being united, means that we as a group or family system, we contribute towards the system well-being, towards the group well-being, towards the family well-being. That's what we want to be able to do. Be part of it and be united, and we are kind of helping each other for everybody's well-being. Now, I can tell you that the lack of values within families today is being negatively affected due to the following reasons. The lack of teaching these values, the lack of modeling these values, and the lack of continuity and reinforcement of these values. The lack of teaching them is that somehow we are not spending, or better said, investing the time that we need to teach the values to our kids. Maybe we're expecting them to learn them on their own, or to learn them by themselves, or to learn them from I don't know where. But let me tell you this, if we don't take the time to teach them, they're not going to learn them. So we need to take the time to teach them. We need to be role models of these values. We cannot say something is important. We cannot say something needs to be done in a right way if we don't model, if we don't become role models of this saying of us. So this is really important, because this needs to be aligned. Our actions needs to be aligned with what we say and what we share that is important. And the lack of continuity is just amazing how we don't take time to reinforce the values that we're trying to teach. Maybe we mention it once, maybe we were eating dinner or lunch and we mention it and we think that that's going to stick forever. We need to reinforce, and we need the continuity for these values to actually root in our children. So if you already have your own family, this is something for you to consider, because these are the main things that are actually affecting family values today. Now, when it's your turn to define your family values, because some people might say, Xiomara, I don't even know what my family values are. Think about these simple questions. These are going to help you a lot. What does your family reflect? When people look at your family, what do they see? What's important for your family? What kind of ideas, what kind of activities, what kind of attitudes, behaviors your family share? How do the family members treat each other? How do you treat each other? How do you treat the people close to you? How do you treat other family members, maybe, extended relatives? How do you interact with friends? These are important. How your family interact with other family friends. And take these questions and use them as a guide to monitor, or better said, to define and promote the values in your new family. Now, we cannot be talking about family values without talking about anti-values. And the anti-values are the opposite. It's totally opposite to values. It's the contrary to values. Anti-values are those attitudes and behaviors that are considered unhealthy, that might be considered dangerous behaviors by society. They tend to degrade us. They tend to take our sensitivity, our humanity from us. They generate rejection and despise from others, and the results might be punishment, legal punishment, or even social punishment or state punishment. So anti-values, I can tell you a whole list. I brought some samples just for you to have an idea. I can mention disrespect, dishonesty, injustice, intolerance, betrayal, infidelity, hatred, unfairness. I can mention racism, being a racist, pride, arrogance. All these are anti-values. And again, the list goes on and on. Everything in a negative connotation is considered an anti-value. And sometimes this gets to rule our lives without us finding out or figuring out that this is what's happening to us. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations that we don't even realize how we got there. And it's simply because we learn it within our family and we think that is the way that it needs to be done. Now think about this. I always bring questions for you to think about and become aware of these things. What are those family values that you were raised in and taught that you are still practicing in your life? Which of those are not being part of your family? If you already have your new family, which ones you didn't bring along with you? And let's imagine you don't have your new family yet. Which values would you want to take with you to your new family? How do you want to raise your kids? What do you want to be important for your family? But this apply it not only to the positive values. Think about the anti-values that we were talking about. Which negative things, which negative aspects you realize today that you learned in your family. And this is tough. This is really hard sometimes for us to actually accept that it's negative and that we've learned it from our father or our mother or grandparents. But this is something that you need to do in order to be set free, in order to be able to break with those patterns and start replacing them with other good values. I have some recommendations in regards to your family values. I hope they can be helpful for you. First, identify your own family values from your childhood. Identify what was important when you were growing up for your family or was considered important by your family. Define which ones you wish to continue and perpetuate within your new family, which ones you want to keep them as part of your life. Decide which other values you would like to add, which other values you would like to adopt. And this is something that you don't have to just have your family values from your childhood, but you can learn from other families, you can learn from the society, you can decide what other things you would like to take with you to your family. Now, also you need to identify those anti-values that you might have picked up from your family. This is extremely important. It can be before or it can be recent that you realize those, but you need to commit to break them. You need to commit to not continuing acting or behaving based on those. And finally, my dear friends, I have some final words for you that I want you to think about. You are responsible. You are responsible to define your personal values because no one else can do that for you. But at the same time, you are responsible to continue nurturing those family values and to adopt those ones that you think you should. You are responsible to get rid of those anti-values, those possible anti-values that have been in your life without you realizing it before. This is a perfect time for you to say, no more. I don't want those to be part of my life anymore. And you are responsible for your emotional process, your emotional growth process. You are responsible to continue with your learning process, with what you've been doing and becoming a better person. I invite you to our next emotional cafe session next week. It's going to be also about values. I'm not going to give anything away, but I want you to be part of our emotional cafe session next week and continue learning about all these values that somehow rule our lives and become aware of how they are ruling it. If their impact is being positive, or as of today we're realizing that some anti-values might slipped in our lives and have been affecting us negatively, and it is up to us what we're going to do with that. I hope to see you next week. I am Xiomara Mayo Ingram, and thank you for being an emotional cafe session today.